First, let us welcome Yang Berhormat Tuan Joshua Wu Zijeng, member of the Penang State Legislative Assembly of Pulau Tikus, Mr. Arif Firdaus, Communications Executive, Penang Youth Development Corporations PYDC, Ms. Shamira Nasrin, Head of Penang Alma Branch, Malaysia India Youth Council, MIYC, Mr. Ryan Cheng, Vice President, Chairperson of Adolescent Affairs Committee, Young Buddhist Associations Malaysia, YBAM, Mr. Aaron Lim, Advisor, Youth Ministry and Social Communications, Roman Catholic City Parish, Penang, Mr. Dugesh Warrens, Representative of University Malaysia Student Union, also representing our Hindu associations, Mr. Ian McIntyre, journalist of The Vibe, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Henry, and I'll be your host for today. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite YB Joshua to give us one or two words. YB, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Henry. To Mr. Arif Firdaus, to Ms. Shamira, Mr. Ryan Cheng, Mr. Aaron Lim, Ms. Duges Warren, Mr. Ian, my good friend from the Whites, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Better? Better. All right. Good morning, Salam Sejahtera and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm glad to be here with you all today and really congratulate, first of all, to Harmonico and Penang Harmony Center for successfully organizing this event. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, what is the purpose of having interfaith dialogue? What is the point of us coming here and then to hear from each other? Interfaith dialogue. I think interfaith dialogue in today's world is so much more important and essential. Why? Because we pride ourselves for having our prosper nation or state in Penang. We pride ourselves as being multiracial, multicultural. But bear in mind that in today's world, without interfaith peace, there is no prosperity. Without interfaith peace, there is no harmony. And without interfaith peace, Penang or the world has no future. That is very important. When we look at our world today, we look at the Western world, we always idolize probably some of the countries in the Western European countries, the Scandinavian country. They pride themselves as having the best of everything, right? The best sustainable development, the best social policy, the best welfare state, and so on. But you just look at TikTok, some of their clubs, they don't allow Asian to go in. Yeah. They are very, very much homogeneous. Look at the Western world, homogeneous, Caucasian among themselves, right? Homogeneous, white, right? But what happened? Brexit happened. UK want to get out from Europe, right? So that's what happened there. But look at other countries in Southeast Asia or even in Asia. China, most of them Chinese. Japan, most of them Japanese. When I went to Taiwan the first time before COVID in 2019, I went there, I got a culture shock as a Malaysian. When I go there, touchdown, when I come out from the airport, when I look at the city, I got a culture shock. Why? All of them Chinese. I'm a Malaysian, I went there because we are so used to multiracial, multiracial context in Penang, in Malaysia. So when I go there, got a shock. Then only I realized how unique it is for Malaysia, how unique it is for Penang in particular. Because as a trading port in the past, as a place where we promote multiculturalism, multiracialism, we see different races, different religions mingle together in peace and harmony. No problem here. And in fact, this is one of our strengths, and this is one of our most unique element that make us prosper in the first place and make our society peaceful in the second place. Yeah. So that is why I believe interfaith dialogue is very important, especially when our society, there are groups and elements that promote segregation or ghetto. Yeah, they create ghetto in different community where people don't get to interact with each other. We have people who even go to school, grow up until young adult life, they have not even meet people from other races, even though we are a multiracial community. Yeah, so that is one thing that we believe by encountering others, by learning from others, we will also learn from ourselves. I really love one of the instruction or one of the very powerful teaching in Islam, which shared to me by a friend, that he says that God created all of us differently. God created all of us differently so that we can learn from one another. So that friend also said that, think logically, if God is all powerful, if you believe that there's one God and God is all powerful, can he make the whole world sharing one religion? He can, but he didn't. Why? Because that teaching in Islam, as my friend shared to me, that God created people differently so that we can learn from one another. We can learn from one another. And that is, I think, the main point of interfaith dialogue. And I'm really, really happy to see all our young people today to come out from different backgrounds, faith background, Buddhist, Islam, any other, Christianity, of course, Roman Catholicism, and then come out here to listen and to learn from each other. And of course, with each tradition so rich with thousands of years of wisdoms, able to help each other to learn more about the world and in particularly about ourselves. Yeah, we learn from each, there's a guy who wrote that I can only know more about myself when I know more about my neighbor. I know more about my friends. Yeah. If I only stick in my own world, that's only so much I can know about myself and the world. Therefore, I'm really glad that our young people have stepped up, and also Penang Harmony Center and Harmonico have organized this important event, and we look forward from the state government side to promote more of this event and more of this interaction. Thank you very much and have a good session.
Thank you so much, YB Joshua. Another round of applause to YB Joshua, please. For such an inspired speech, what he says is like, it is a time for us to celebrate the difference among us. So ladies and gentlemen, Let's Talk is brought to you exclusively by Penang Harmony Corporation's Harmonico. It is an interfaith dialogue and act as a platform for the people of various backgrounds to openly exchange, discuss, and share their different perspectives on various topics. Through Let's Talk series, we hope to be the bridge for community of Malaysia, especially the Penangites, to get connected, learn, and understand better about all of us. So for your information, today is the third series of our Let's Talk Interfaith Dialogues. Previously, we do have a discussions on the religion's perspective on gender and a discussions on the interracial couple, their challenges and accepting the differences among us for our past series. So if you would like to look through back our past series, please visit our YouTube channel and find out more about it. And I'm pretty sure that you will be immersed and mesmerized into that discussions. All right, let's bring back to the nature of today. So with the rise of technology and the popularity of social media, the mass media play an important role in our everyday life, single life, okay? So encouraging interactions as well as promoting the peace and harmony within our society. The mass media, traditional or modern, is proven to be an important tool in fostering a harmonious society among us between different religions and culture. The vast majority of mass media users nowadays are all the youth, which are exposed to a constant stream of informations. I believe you guys have IG, TikTok, Facebook, and you can just name it, right? So in these discussions, We will bring in our key opinion leaders from various faith backgrounds and also our experienced journalists to discuss on how mass media play its role to be a powerful tool in expanding inter-religious interactions and also way to increase representations in media. So not to forget also, today Let's Talk Interfaith Dialogue is a collaborative forums between Penang Harmony Corporation's Harmonico and also Penang Youth Development Corporation's PYDC. So ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed with the forum, allow me to introduce our moderator for today, Mr. Arif Firdaus. So Mr. Arif Firdaus is from Malaysia University of Science. Yeah, please, for Mr. Arif, yeah. Okay, so a short briefing about Mr. Arif's background. So Mr. Arif is a graduate student from Malaysia University of Science, USM, with a Bachelor of Art, English for Professional. And currently, he works as the Communications Executive in PYDC, which is our partner for today. So Mr. Arif is a debater, orator, and also advocate. He's also the current member of Penang Sidang Muda, representing N27 Pengkalan Kota. Not to forget Miss Shamira as well, as one of the members of our Penang Sidang Muda. If you guys want to know more about Penang Sidang Muda, please go to them. All right? So without further ado, Mr. Arif, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MC of the day. May I call upon my panelists to come with me to the front for our forum for today. So you can just, according to the row, Mr. Ian, Mr. Ryan, Shamira, Aaron, and Dugas. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and salam sejahtera to everyone. First and foremost, Selamat Hari Malaysia to everyone. On today, on the 16th of September, we commemorate our 60th anniversary of the formation of our beloved country, Malaysia. Today, Malaysia is not only an independent state, it is also a harmonious state full of diversity and dynamic cultures. So for today's special session, we organized this special forum for today, inviting our very special panelists for today. And our topic is, of course, Let's Talk, an interfaith dialogue, youth opinion on representation of inter-religion interaction in the media. So for today, we have not one, not two, but 5 special panelists with us today who will share their insights regarding the media, inter-religion interaction, and of course, the youth perspective. So for today, we have our first panelist, Mr. Ian McIntyre. He is a true otai in the media scene. After 30 years, more than 30 years of experience in journalism, previously held various positions, including assistant news editor, journalist, and senior writer in newspapers, including The Star, The Sun, and Business Weekly Focus Malaysia. Currently, he is now serving with The Vibes, which is an online portal that you can visit. And furthermore, he is also holding an MBA in business from the University of Southern Pacific, Hawaii, and a member of the Break Free from Plastics Global Movement. So please give a round of applause for our first panelist, Mr. Ian McIntyre. Apa khabar, Mr. Ian? Okay? All right. So secondly, we have our second panelist, Mr. Ryan Cheng Kok Sheng. He is very active in various organizations and holds various portfolios, most notably as Vice President for Young Buddhist Association Malaysia, YBAM. He is also Vice Chairman of Penang Buddhist Free Schools Ex-Pupils Association, Vice Chairman of Malaysian Buddhist Examination Syndicate, and advisor for former chairperson of YBAM Penang. Fun fact, he is also co-founder for Buck and Bean and The Warung, which are 2 local cafes. So please welcome Mr. Ryan Cheng Kok Sheng. Our third panelist for today is Ms. Shamira Nasrin binti Ahmed Nordin. She is currently a student but will graduate soon, I've been informed, in Bachelor's Degree Applied Science Natural Resource Science with honors at University Malaysia Kelantan, UMK. She is also very active in various community NGOs, most notably MIYC, a local Indian NGO, and has extended experience in community leadership. So please welcome our woman panelist for today, Ms. Shamira. Our fourth panelist for today is Mr. Aram Lim Pek Chin, the gentleman right over there. He has served with the Catholic Church in Penang for more than 15 years in various areas. He currently holds several portfolios under City Parish Penang, including EXCO member of Parish Pastoral Council, chairman of Liturgical Committee, and advisor of Youth Ministry and Social Communications. He is also involved as a stranger for Herald, which is a weekly Catholic newspaper in Malaysia, and is also actively involved in national level Catholic events. So please welcome Mr. Aaron Lim Pek Chin. And finally, we have our fifth panelist, who is also another youth panelist we have for today, Mr. Dogeswaran Viran. He is now currently a third-year law student in University Malaya, UM, with a strong passion for advocacy and leadership. He is now opposition leader for the University Malaya Student Union. And he is also committed in promoting student rights, positive change, justice, and equality. So please welcome Mr. Dogeswaran Viran. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are properly dressed up and now we are prepared for the first round of our forum, which is on the media. So we'll begin with our expert in the media, Mr. Ian. So this question is for you. With your deep experience in the media industry for over 30 years, how do you think the current situation with the youth and media in terms of interreligious discussion? Mr. Ian, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone and happy Malaysia Day. Today is the 60th anniversary. So I think this talk is, or this discussion is very appropriate. YB Joshua, good morning to you too, and Harmonica staff and everyone here, especially the audience, my fellow panelists. The topic of media and interfaith and youth is quite timely now, because as you know, for the good measure of the past year, the media has been been dominated with the 3R issues, the use of race, religion, and even royalty to divide the country. Unfortunately, there are certain media platforms that propagate that. Okay, this is what we call the advert of freedom of the press. And there's also certain elements of the media which try their best to be ethical, to be balanced, and to be informative in their reporting. Okay, so we have this contrast, this background. I'm going to be more on the practical side rather than the academic side of the media, but I think everyone here knows that the media basically is the fourth estate. The first, of course, is the executive, which is the Prime Minister, and then we have the lawmakers, which is YB Joshua, and then the third, you have the judiciary, which is the courts and the police, and the media is the fourth estate, which is basically a watchdog. We are supposed to keep an eye on the other three other estates, okay? As far as the youth and the media is concerned, currently I would grade it a D, or a scale of 1 to 5, maybe we are at number 4 in terms of our ability to discuss, to be informative about the interfaith situation in the country. And the reason is because there is a surge of a lot of social media postings. There are a lot of political benefits to divide the country, to divide and rule the country, and Malaysia is no exception. This is something similar in many other parts of the world, where the 3Rs are quite prevailing, Even in neighboring Thailand, although it's a monocentric society, but they still have the 3Rs there. And so we could do with more interactions like what Harmonica is doing now. We could do with more engagements so that interfaith dialogue becomes something more of informative, more educational rather than a confrontational situation in the country. It shouldn't be a taboo subject. It should be something which all Malaysians should be comfortable about to engage, and the media should play its rightful role in that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ian. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And I agree with Mr. Ian. It's true. As we can see in democracy, the media is often referred to as the fourth estate, the watchdogs of the country. That being said, we can also see certain elements of the media trying to be ethical and certain other parts of media trying not to be ethical by playing the 3R sentiments. If I may just probe a little bit deeper, what would be your opinion on the youth's role in influencing the media? Has the youth made any impact in shaping the media's narrative?
Yes, most definitely the youth, because of social media. 80% of the users and content providers of social media are youths, those aged 40 and below. Okay, so the youth have a very important role in this.
I see.
Yeah, basically in the media, interaction between the media and the youth. Yeah.
I see. Thank you very much. 80%. That's right. 80% of our youth contribute on social media. That's the power of the youth that has right now. So we also have two religious organizations, YBAM and the Catholic Church. So my first question is, of course, for Mr. Ryan, as a representative from YBAM, what has been some of the efforts in promoting interreligious interaction, especially in the media? So, Mr. Ryan, would you like to elaborate?
All right, thank you. First of all, good morning to everyone, especially to our YB Joshua and the rest of the audience here. My name is Ryan. I'm representing Young Buddhist Association of Malaysia. So I think there are a couple of things that I would like to share that how this YBM involved in all these things. YBM has been in Malaysia for more than 50 years, and I believe that with the technology changes over the years, we have been working very hard to follow the trend, especially on what we have right now in the news media. I was the former news media and information committee chairman for YBM, and then we actually changed our national leadership, I think 4 months ago. So right now I'm holding the Adolescents Affairs Committee, taking care of the youth that below 21 years old. So there's a big responsibility that I put on my shoulder. So I think over the past years, YBM has never been absent in, in media as well. We are actually advocating of things that based on the Buddhist value, as well as based on what we are supposed to fight for through press statement. So the media is playing traditional media is playing an important role to help the NGOs, to help us, especially religion-based NGO, to pass a message out to the public. Not only the public, to the government as well. Because sometimes things that is a policy that doesn't looks fair to us, we have to be the one to voice out on behalf of the Malaysian, especially particularly on the Buddhists as well. But as a whole, we want this Malaysia to be a better place to live. So anything that's not right, we don't have to worry about sensitivity. Sometimes for us especially Chinese, we have minority. Sometimes when we out press statement, definitely we have go through around, right? Check, we let lawyer check and all these things. So we do not want to create any issue. That's the things that we think that we are playing important roles to make sure that media heard about us, and then the public is also aware that we are helping them to taking care of their benefits, their welfare. And then second thing I would like to share is all this year, YBN never absent in interfaith dialogue. We have been invited by a lot of society, especially NGOs, even SPR, the Raswa. So from the Buddhist perspective, what do you think about Raswa? Is it okay? Is it not okay? So we have been actively participated in all these government authority to address our view. And then one day we hope that whether this is small, I believe that things we have to continue to do, like the dialogue today. If don't do, then definitely there's no impact. If we do from small, definitely sikit-sikit lama akan jadi bukit. There's the things that I believe in. And definitely there are a couple of things that I would like to share with everyone is we do have joint projects, joint collaboration to reach out the rest you don't see that this is a small. People think that joint projects, how do we promote inter-religions harmonies? Don't think about this. I mean, you have to walk out from your circles. You have to collaborate with others, because when you collaborate, you will find out, oh yeah, these are something that I found out. If I don't step out, I don't know. This is the real thing, like the one that I shared this morning about how they build the mosque. That's the thing that I step out. I just learned that, wow, this mosque is not funded by government. It's funded by everyone, the devotees. That's the thing that I found it that collaboration is very important. We don't work in our own circles. You have to collaborate like us. We are part of the Majlis Belia Malaysia. We collaborate with them, and then they found that, like Liga Muslim, I think it's one of the member of MBM, Majlis Belia Malaysia. We do projects, and they have open house. We go over. That's the thing. Any perayaan, we should not restrict it to our own. We should be getting the rest of people to join us, like what YB say, neighbors. We have to engage our neighbors as well just now. So these are the things that we are putting a little bit efforts to engage with others, people know about us. Then we embrace the differences, and then that's the, what they call, towards what Penang Harmonicals go, towards inclusive and harmonious society. That's the thing that Penang 2030 is working on. I hope that this is the things that we are able to continue in Penang. As I said, Penang is the best place for me. I live here, I study here, I work here. And because Penang is still the best to me. One last thing is, I think YBM, the recent projects I would like to share is on the short film competitions. You know, short films is something that I hated before I end my tenure as a chairman for the news media. We actually, this is one of the challenges whereby I need to find people to shoot on the short film, come out with the ideas. But at the end of the day, after a lot of efforts have been done, I'm surprised that we have gathered 30 or 40 submissions for short films on the topic, which is general. One thing surprised me is, it's not only Buddhists, we have Christian participants, we have Muslim participants. So there's the things that I think YBMs is not like, we are not like trying to influence people to join us. We are part of this society, we are part of Malaysia. What we are doing is for Malaysia, for the development of Malaysia towards a better place to live. So the short film completion is something that I found out quite surprised. We have the participants from Muslim. At that time, the title of the video is Circumcision, Sunat. You know, when it comes to all these topics, to me as a Malaysian Chinese, particularly, I feel very sensitive. If this exposed out, hey, Buddhist Association, you are doing something. Are you trying to convert us? So we actually very carefully and asked the participants, can you please help to change the title to circumcision? I want to minimize the sensitivity of this society. After all, I always say, it's not about human and human, it's about politician. Politicians is the one that Batu Api create all this issue. I'm sorry about that, Wai Joseph. Because this is something that from my perspective, politician is part of this society to lead every one of us towards a better place. So politicians should be the one to stand out, advocate for things that to make Malaysia better. That's some of the feedbacks from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ryan. Big round of applause. And he did mention a lot, actually. He mentioned YBAM's continuous efforts in the media, sending press statements, and also kenyataan, as we call it, to the media as a voice for the Buddhist community, and also to promote more inter-religion harmony. And we can also see YBAM's efforts approaching the youth, not only Buddhist youth, but Malaysian youth in general, promoting harmony through competitions, short film competitions, sunat, and also trying in general to be a voice for, you could say, inter-religion harmony. So thank you, YBM, and thank you, Mr. Ryan. Now we can proceed to Mr. Aaron, of course, from the Catholic Church. So, Mr. Aaron, as part of the Catholic Church, how important do you think the Catholic Church is taking up its role in promoting inter-religious dialogues through the media? Mr. Aaron?
Okay, thank you very much, Arif. So, very good morning, everyone. Salam sejahtera, salam damai, dan selamat Hari Malaysia. So, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of YB Joshua. So, my name is Aaron. I'm from the Roman Catholic Church, and we are proud to be part of Malaysia, and we are proud to be part of this multicultural and diverse nation of ours. And And as a fact that the Penang state government is promoting inter-religious harmony, and we at the Catholic Church, we are benefiting from these policies, in which we are very thankful for that. So for the Catholic Church itself, we embrace the usage of media in terms of our inter-religious dialogue. This is very much promoted by our leader, who is His Holiness Pope Francis, who has came out with a document entitled Fratelli Tutti. Coincidentally, this document was published on the 4th of October, 3 years back in 2020, on the feast of St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis of Assisi is one of my favorite saints. St. Francis of Assisi is a promoter of peace, is a promoter of harmony, and one of his famous prayers that always inspires me, he prays to the Lord. He asks God to give him this wisdom to make him an instrument of peace. So we, in fact, as Malaysians, if we take this into reference, we are called to be instruments of peace. So the media itself, as shared by Pope Francis in his recent message for the World Day of Communications this year, the media, not just Catholic media, but also media in general, ought to promote truth, ought to promote fairness, as well as everything that we do, everything that we write and we share ought to be done in charity. So that is the most important thing going forward. So moving back to Fratelli Tutti, this document is on fraternal unity. We are called to be bringers of peace, that peace among religions is necessary because the fundamental rights that we all believe in is the freedom of religion that is openly practiced here in Malaysia. And this common cooperation has been promoted through various initiatives. The Catholic Church, through inter-religious dialogue, and as expressed in the media, we have also shared in statements and events. We are part of the Christian Federation of Malaysia, CFM, Council of Churches. This also includes the Protestant churches. The Catholic Church is also very active in the Malaysian Consultative Council of Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism, and Taoism, or what we call as a MCCBCHST. So I would say on the youth level, there's not much for now, but in terms of our leaders are actively mingling with each other. In terms of religious celebrations, you do see the bishops from the Catholic Church here in Malaysia attending celebrations like Wesak Day, Deepavali, and so on. You also see events of breaking fast as well happening, where we visit mosques, and as well as events like Christmas, whereby political leaders as well as religious leaders from the various faiths are invited for these celebrations. So we believe that the young people today actually carry a lot of weightage in terms of social media, because interreligious dialogue in the Catholic Church also doesn't come just in the form of visiting each other during the festive occasions. I have the experience of volunteering myself at the Lighthouse. Those of you who know the Lighthouse actually is the social arm of the Catholic Church that is run by the Penang Office of Human Development, POHD, that is under Caritas. Caritas Penang is the social arm of the Catholic Church that reaches out to the less fortunate, and this goes beyond race, beyond religion. And many of these initiatives are actually being published not just on the Catholic media, but also in national newspapers as well. I had the opportunity on several occasions to volunteer in the soup kitchen. And for the experience of, I believe, Ryan, in terms of the video contest, you have participants from various faiths. In terms of volunteering in the Lighthouse Soup Kitchen, you actually have people coming from different religious backgrounds, different races. And in fact, in the Lighthouse itself, you even have workers coming from a Hindu background. You have volunteers coming from Hinduism, Sikhism, and you can see a very multiracial composition of Chinese, Indians, and sometimes even the Malays as well coming in to volunteer, because at the end of the day, it is a language of love. As Cardinal-elect Sebastian has shared when he visited the leaders of PAS recently, last month, they had an interfaith dialogue. And I remember, I think Ian was there as well. And there was this Malay phrase that he used, tak kenal maka tak cinta. You do not know something until you get to know it and you love it. So this goes beyond that, and charity towards mankind, as also shared by Pope Francis in Fratelli Tutti. It is towards working for the common good of mankind. And these social initiatives in the lighthouse, as well as many other things, like during the recent floods in Selangor in 2021, we actually organized ourselves, collecting food items as well as donations, and this is disbursed to all Malaysians irrespective of their religion. So in another aspect, if we see the beauty of interfaith dialogue, it comes in the form of charity as well. And in the Catholic Church, we have been doing that. As well as in Penang, we are happy that we have the minor basilica of St. Anne, also known as the Shrine of Harmony. I think it coincides with the name of the Penang Harmony Corporation. We have the Feast of St. Anne every year, and the Feast of St. Anne in July every year actually attracts people from different nations and even different creeds. I have a friend who is a Taoist. Disclaimer, I do not plan to convert this person. This is just a friend of mine who goes to St. Anne's Minor Basilica every year. And I asked her, what makes you go there every year? She shared with me that I find peace, I find solace, and I know that somehow or rather, if I share my problems with St. Anne, somehow or rather, things will be okay. So these are the beauty that we see, we still hold firm to our beliefs and our creeds, but at the same time, we are open towards visiting other places of worship. And the Minor Basilica of St. Anne is a beautiful example from the Catholic perspective. So I believe what I bring for this question is a few areas. One is we are called to share the message of love. And through the media, through all these initiatives, I believe that they are also being publicized, not just on mainstream, but on alternative media. The message of love is important, and peace. And the second thing is the openness. And the third thing, which is the element of charity. When we help others, we go beyond what our identity is, and the happiness that we see, and we find the joy in seeing others being empowered, seeing others who do not have something, but we are able to give what we have to them. So that goes beyond, and that is also, I think, a form of dialogue as well. So that is what the perspective that I'm bringing to this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aaron. A very comprehensive answer by him. We can see from Pope Francis's initiative to make God as an instrument of peace, a promoter of peace, media to promote truth and fairness, and we can also see the Catholic Church, very vigorous initiative to help the poor and needy, the Lighthouse Initiative, etc., etc. Very comprehensive answer, actually, and I really appreciate the answer. So now we can proceed with the youth opinion on current efforts by the media. So we have two youth panelists right here. So we'll start with Mr. Dugaswaran. So to Mr. Dugaswaran, do you think the Malaysian media is doing a good job in encouraging interreligious interaction in the media? Or do you think due to certain matters like racial stereotypes, which some might say is still prevalent in the media, hinders the promotion of interreligious interaction? So do you think the Malaysian media is doing a good job, Mr. Dugaswaran?
All right. Thank you, Arif. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so for these questions, right, I just like to let me bring it to a scale when we reach to Malaysian media. So when 1 to 10, I will say Malaysian media is doing a good job until 5. Okay, but what happens next? I will say the government interfere it's too much. There's a lot of issues there. At first, we can look in Malaysia. Do we really have a free, open discourse about religions? We don't have. We have a very, very limited open discourse itself. And this caused a lot of issues, especially there is fear of repressions towards the journalists, the media, which is that they avoid the potential repercussions, which leading to a lack of critical reporting just for the sensitive issues regarding some religious issues. Especially in today, we can clearly see, especially regarding the 3R issues, etc. And also, our governments have a lot of these control narratives, which leads to bias, to some one-sided coverage itself. Therefore, it will lead the media itself to not be trusted by the youth or even the people itself. Yeah, I guess that's my answer.
A very short and concise answer. Thank you, Mr. Douglas Warren. A big round of applause for him. And I can agree with his main point, which is the media try to tiptoe and try not to report certain things which might be deemed offensive. And sometimes due to this media's maybe good intention, eventually it may cause some voices not be heard and some representations being dismissed, which is not something that we can afford if we want to have inter-religion interaction in the media. So thank you, Mr. Douglas Warren, for the very concise answer. So now we'll proceed with Ms. Shamira. So this is on youth influence, actually. As someone who has been taking up active roles in youth leadership and community services, how big of an influence do you think the youth would have in influencing inter-religious interaction in the media? The influence of the youth. So, Ms. Shamira, you may.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Arif. Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone here. Selamat Hari Malaysia. Greetings to YB Joshua. And thank you so much for the opportunity given to me. I think I'm going to take some time because there's going to be a lot of clarification. So I'm going to use this one of my platforms to do so. So I'm a woman from an Indian Muslim community. So the stereotype around Indian Muslim community is that we are initially Hindus that converted to Islam. There are a group of community in that way who convert to the religion of Islam. But according to my roots, we are Islams from India. So understanding the history of Penang itself, we are full of traders, right? We are the hub of trading and so on and so forth. But so my ancestors were from India and trading all the way in Penang. So we settled down in Penang like 4 generations ago. But yet, 4 generations ago, but we yet still keep our roots alive by intermarrying. Marrying. So our families are here in Malaysia, but they still do find for brides or grooms from India. And also, obviously marrying the Indian Muslim community within the Malaysia itself. I think one interesting fact, the minor difference between the Hindus Indian Hindus in Malaysia and Indian Muslims, if you ask them, hey, do you know where your ancestors came from, India particularly? They wouldn't know. Do you know? See, they wouldn't know. If you ask me, I know exactly where are they from, because yet till today in the year of 2023, we still go back to India, to our very hometown over there, because our families are still very well, settled over there. If I go back to India someday, I just have a house for me to, settle down. I don't have to find a hotel. That's the privilege as well I have, having a family not only in Malaysia but also in India. So that doesn't mean I'm not a Malaysian. I'm completely a Malaysian. I was born in Malaysia. So that's an interesting side of me. That's me being an Indian Muslim. Well, so growing up as an Indian Muslim, obviously my mother tongue is actually Tamil. Yeah, Tamil. So I will be wet if I'm not gonna learn Tamil. Tamil is like the language in your house. Then if I start speaking English, they'll be like, hey, your pa is what? Mat Saleh, is it? Your dad is Indian, right? Speak Tamil. It's like that in my house. And then growing up, I grew up in a Chinese house. So my foster parents are actually Chinese. So 我可以讲华语一点点. Just a little bit. And then growing up in the Islam community, obviously making me in Islam, so I do have a lot of Muslim friends. So it makes me quite a Malaysian because I'm able to fit in everywhere, and I have friends from every single community, including the Orang Aslis, including the indigenous community. So there was this one of the programs that I joined that made me mingle with the Orang Asli community, so I can quite, say myself that I'm quite a Malaysian in the ground. So when there is issues about 3R, when we are talking about, it just doesn't make sense to me. Because me, as a person who has friends and family from various backgrounds, it just, I think, give me the privilege to understand where is their sentiment coming from, and also in which point of view or perspective they are, voicing a certain thing. So my best friend is actually Christian as well. So I celebrate Deepawali, I celebrate Chinese New Year. I go to my best friend's house for Christmas, and it's just, and I, according to my religion, I celebrate Hari Raya. So that's how me as a person. So as far as me being like this, I also face a lot of challenges because I'm representing Malaysian Indian Youth Council. So they asked me, and fun fact, I'm the only girl in Malaysian Indian Youth Council with a tudung and in the Indian Youth Council. So I'm easily stand out because because I think there is a perception within the Indian Muslim community itself saying that to portray themselves as Indian. Yeah. So, and there is a perception in Indian Muslim community where they refuse to embrace the culture and also their roots as Indians. So even though if they knew and they do speak Tamil at home, they refuse to do so in public. It is a fact. It is a fact. So, and it was a trouble for me to start explaining to people where did I came from because they see me wearing tudung, wearing hijab, and me speaking in Tamil really fluently with my other friends. They'll be like, bro, like, how are you doing this? So it's so hard for me to explain to them. I mean, it still comes down to our education system lah. If you actually really understood the histories that we had traders all the way from India, you wouldn't be asking me this question. But at one point, I became so sick of actually answering this. But the moment I start embracing it and actually starting to explain about my culture and also religion to people, it turned out to be very interesting to me. And also I start embracing it and I start loving my roots. And this is like basically a personal development that I find in myself from the moment where I not so really liked myself explaining who am I to actually start embracing myself. So that's when your personal self-love comes in. And I think on the media's perspective about it is that when it comes to Indian Muslim, I think we all have stereotypes. Let's admit it. Indian Muslims, as nasi kanda, as some roti canai, as some, mee goreng mama. That is so good. Bangkok Lane, Hamid Pat. Yeah, that's what we are, coming down to, right? But then we are much more than that. That's what I'm trying to say, right? We are more than that. Why don't you see us as entrepreneurs? Brilliant entrepreneurs. You can see, I think, opposite Masjid Kapitan Keling, you can see a line of jewelers, right? They are basic, brilliant, entrepreneurs. And just don't stereotype us to, this, I know it's famous and it's good lah, but then don't lah until stereotype. Just, Indian Muslims means, the question that I ask is that, hey, you got restaurant, is it? Oh, what business are your parents owning? I mean, obviously my parents are owning a business. I'm not going to deny that. They have a convenience store, but I'm not going to deny that. But, we are not just that. Like myself, I am actually the first graduate in my family because they are all so much rooted with the culture, and also they don't want to leave their line out of norm, I would say, norm. They continue their business, and it is a reality until today. Even though you see these Indian Muslim graduates, probably from engineering background or medical background, they just come down to their business again. Yeah, because I think it's just the practice and also the norm in the families of being that way. So media these days, I think, is making a good move in actually explaining to people what is the difference between race and religion, which makes it even better for people to understand nowadays that we are vast and we are different. But at the same time, I think for people like me, I think I have to go out more and actually tell people, hey, this is this. So I hope I'm actually doing it with this platform and I'm able to clarify a lot of people here that we are not just this, but we are more than that. But a women, especially a woman from an Indian Muslim culture, is even worse. Because we do have the Indian culture as well, rooted all the way from India, saying that, you know what, girls are supposed to be in the kitchen. You're not supposed to go out and study. Oh, trust me, I faced that as well. But I think in this context, my parents were really, stand strong by me. They said, no, education is important and I'm going to let her do whatever she wants. So I think that is where the starting point of breaking stereotype happens. But I hope this happens in a lot more other families as well. And this is something that I really advocate for in Indian Muslim community. So I think that's it for now. I think we will share later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharmira. She explained a lot in terms of her background, very diverse background actually, maybe the most Malaysian background ever so far. And we can also see how important the youth's role to express themselves, their identities, to make them be heard. And when they are heard and when they are being seen, we can see the media also respond to it. They try to bring more representation, try to bring more coverage. That's how you can actually, the youth's role in making the media being able to promote more inter-religion harmony. So thank you, Ms. Shamira, for your answer. So now we can proceed with role of media in encouraging inter-religious communication through the media and dealing with sensationalized use. So this question is actually for Mr. Aaron. So as we are all aware, Mr. Aaron is from the Catholic Church, and he is also involved as stranger for Herald. In case you're wondering, Herald is actually a weekly newspaper by the Catholic Church. I'm actually from an Islamic NGO, and we also have our own media outlets. Basically, each religious organization has their own media outlets. So my question to Mr. Aaron is, how do you see the impact of media by religious organizations in shaping opinions for religious harmony within the different communities? So Mr. Aaron?
Okay. So with reference to this question, I think a little bit of my experience in the Herald. I just checked this weekend's edition of the Herald for this Sunday, 17th of September. Actually, we do cover a lot of articles with regards to inter-religious dialogue. And it is not just an inter-religious dialogue efforts within the church, but as well as inter-religious dialogue efforts with other religions as well. So there's, excuse me, there's this article this weekend. There's a multi-faith center, something like Penang Harmony Center, that's being opened in another parts of Malaysia. If I'm not sure if it is in Selangor, correct me if I'm wrong. So these are some of the articles that have regularly been featured just to give Catholics an understanding of what are the efforts that are being carried out as what I mentioned the first question, to continuously promote this element of harmony, to eradicate any stereotypes, and also the way that we present these issues, we try not to sensationalize. I have this experience of mine. I've actually written an article to Herald. It was carried in early 2019. Actually, back in December 2018, we had a group of students from University Sultan Aslan Shah in Perak. They were completing their comparative religious course. Majority of these students were Muslims. And one of the religious places amongst all of the religious places of worship that they chose to visit, they actually visited the Church of the Assumption. Now, the Church of the Assumption is actually the second oldest Catholic church in Malaysia, with more than 230 years of history. And like what all our panelists have mentioned, not just Dugeswaran as well as Shamira, you know the stereotype. So, of course, I must admit, when my parish priest told me that these students were visiting us, you know, the song from the lyrics, my heart skips a beat, you know. So it's like, okay, what do we do, you know, how do we prepare? But I'm quite thankful that actually both sides were open to just learn from each other, respecting the differences that we have. And thankfully, all went well. The visit was a success. And both of us, actually, for both sides, we got to know a little bit more of each other. And in terms of the article as well, it was carried on the Herald. And we did some photos. We posted some photos on our Facebook page, which was positively received. But of course, taking into mind the religious considerations as well as the sensitivities. So we were also aware, you know. So when you have this in mind, you know that something is already not right in a multi-religious context of Malaysia. And today we are in our 60th Malaysia Day. So I think all this we have to make do without, you know. It is good that we have all these activities. We want to share it with people, but the thing is, what are the receivers perceiving these things to be? And it doesn't just stop there on the international level as well. I just want to take a reference from a recent visit by Pope Francis to Mongolia. As we all know that Mongolia is a Buddhist majority nation. and there are only about 1,500 Catholics in Mongolia. So actually in this context, being from a minority group in Malaysia, we have an essential role to play. And the importance, as we can see from this Mongolia visit, regardless of how big you are, how small you are still a part of this world, and small is beautiful actually. So with this kind of news, including the visit by Cardinal-elect Sebastian Francis to the past leaders last month, it gives people a sense of oneness as a nation, because it is not easy given all our differences. We still want to hold true to what we believe in, you know. When we read these things, if we do not have that open mind, I don't think we can grasp the knowledge. I don't think we can be able to, you know, again, whatever that is being brought out by whoever is the writer, whoever is the content producer in social media. Because all this that we do, we must find our common ground. And that is what we try to promote as well in our postings from the church, from Herald, from Vatican News, and so on. Because we want to strengthen our multiracial society in Malaysia. We take into account our identity as Malaysians, and we want to celebrate that. And at the same time, we also respect the federal constitution and also our differences. And I must admit, even in a Catholic context, because in the Catholic Church, we also have different language groups. We have different races, the Chinese, Indians, Eurasians, and we even have different nationalities. I come from City Parish. In my church, we have the Vietnamese, we have the Filipinos, the Indonesians, the Myanmaris, and they come, they are Catholics, by the way, and they come every Sunday to worship in church. And it is not easy as well in our own context to bring the different languages together. And in fact, yesterday, when we celebrated the feast day of the Church of Our Lady of Sorrows, we celebrated our diversity as well. We celebrated what we call the Holy Mass, or the Eucharistic celebration, the highest form of worship in a Catholic church. We celebrated it in 6 languages, which is in English, Mandarin, Tamil, Bahasa Malaysia, mainly for the East Malaysian community from Sabah and Sarawak. You have the Bidayus, the Ibans, the Melanaus, and so on, the Kadasan, the Dusuns, as well as we do celebrate the Vietnamese and the Filipinos, who are very much, they have integrated into our community. So moving aside from that, I believe that the Malaysian society, after 60 years, let us take into consideration the context of Sabah and Sarawak as well. Many of them, if they are not the Christians or Muslims or Buddhists, they are still in their form of, I would say, animism. Some of them still practice those as well. Do we really understand them? Does the media highlight those parts as well? I think maybe in the context of Semenanjung, we actually, roughly, we have the major, the streamline, the 3 to 4 races in the same context as Singapore as well. So as a nation, with Semenanjung, with Sabah and Sarawak, we are making a slow yet steady progress. We are seeing a lot of coverage on the media in the different events, and I'm also quite thankful that in a recent event that we have, the Corpus Christi Eucharistic procession, it was carried well by the Star and the Harmonico. These are the kind of articles that really explains, you know, what do we do? Why Catholics do this, or why does the Muslims do this? Why does the Hindus do that in their particular celebration, and how it's being done? You know, this kind of a reporting is exemplary, and I think the Malaysian media can use this as an example. The work must continue if we want to mature as a multiracial society. We must not look back at what has happened in the past, but we must celebrate what we have now, and we must look forward amid the backdrop of many, I would say, the world in general. I don't think this is a Malaysian problem. It is even happening in the US as well, where the leftists are actually getting more and more vocal. So if we do carry that in mind, we must not be swayed by all these sentiments. We know who we are, and our friends coming from these different backgrounds, what we read as well, we accept with an open mind. I think with that, after 60 years, and hopefully in the next 10 to 20 years, the Malaysian society, we can continue to not just celebrate our differences, but we must integrate and we must call ourselves as Malaysian first until the day that we achieve that. And with Malaysian first media articles, then I think what we are doing today has achieved its purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aaron. Another very comprehensive answer. He told me backstage that he did his research, and I can see it right now. So thank you, Mr. Aaron. A really comprehensive answer. We can see how the Catholic media played its role, giving coverage to a lot of activities, including inter-religious activities from the students in USAS to the Catholic Church. And I think it's a very important role and important point that we can make, which is the religious-based media. They have the autonomy to actually report these things, and they can actually use their platform to promote more inter-religious harmony in the country. So thank you, Mr. Aaron, for the lovely answer. We can proceed with our next question to Ms. Shamira. So, Ms. Shamira, how can young people use their influence and engagement with the media to encourage the media to play a more important role in promoting inter-religious harmony? So how can the young people use their influence right here, Shamira?
I think the first step will be inviting people like us to this sort of events.
Harmonico, take note, yeah?
Yeah. I think Harmonico is playing a very good role in promoting interfaith, religious talk by inviting advocates like us to share our opinions. This is, I think it's brilliant because, you invited me and I'm getting actually an open space to share about what I feel and what I have been keeping for so long. Apart from that, I think our own personal social medias as well. Coming from youth organizations as well, I think our main weapon right now is just right by our phones, social media. You just record a video of yourself and you just start putting it out. It does gather a lot of influence and so on and so forth. I think when coming on the perspective of youth organizations as well, I think we have to start following more like what Harmonica does and putting the concept of Malaysians first as what you're mentioning about. Even though we are from backgrounds, we do from societies specifically like maybe like Buddhists or Christians or Indians, I think we can still collaborate with one another and bring out more talks and dialogues such as this one to give more clarity to people. And I think we should start more article writing, right? Article writing to the press, giving out our opinion on, story sharing. I mean, the Star has a section of story sharing, right? I think we all in this perspective of youth organizations should start doing that. I'm actually thinking it right now. I'm proposing to my chairman. I mean, like we should start doing this because I think it's a brilliant way to get a word out in breaking stereotypes as well. That is how media would help. I think on the media perspective, I hope media is more friendly of youth organizations, please. We try to reach out to, media sometimes, but then we don't really get the we don't really get the response because they are very much interested in the 3R issues that has been going on in the nation, especially during the politics. Because in my experience, that I've recently won Top 10 Asia Young Talents Award. Thank you. So my organization were trying to get the word out, but the press were really interested with the political conflict that were happening right then and avoided my story. So personal experience, I'm sorry, but I think it's a give and take policy. We should be able to give some good stories to the press. I think press should be even more youth friendly to organizations like us and give us more opportunity to express our voices and opinions through newspapers as well, and also online version of these papers, because physical papers, I understand that we rarely, read physical newspapers, but at least do try to cover our stories on online-based news. Because sometimes organization like mine, we are doing a lot of activities, charities, and also talks on the ground. But we do not get enough coverage on that one. Yeah. So I think the press could really help us in doing all this. But as I said, the press should be, even more, a little bit more friendlier towards the youth organization. I'm not sure about the others, but UM always lah UM no need to say lah, always in the news. But then youth organizations like us, but please do give us more opportunities to express our views and opinions, to be out in the the headlines of the news. I feel I think, yeah, but when it comes to social media, I think I don't really have nothing to complain about, because I think me posting this on my Instagram later would gather me some attention, and it would definitely send a message to one person and basically restricted it to my own followers, but it would not reach to how I want the message to be reached. So I think somehow the main press, the headlines, the news outlets makes a lot of changes, and I really hope the changes will happen. The relationship between the youth organization and press would change really soon. Here's a proposal, Mr. Ian. I hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shamira. Big round of applause. And I can agree with her. As we can see, the youth has their platforms, and it would be very nice actually to have more coverage from the media, from our press friends. Mr. Ian. Okay, so our next question is actually for Mr. Ian himself. So this question is, how big of a role does the media have in encouraging interreligious communication, and what are the different ways that the media can play this role? We'll also have some special backgrounds right here. So Mr. Ian, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Arif. So at least hopefully everyone is a little more awake now. You could see, now this is a very interesting thing. It's the World Press Freedom Index, okay? So Malaysia is 113. A very good thing is that we are ahead of our neighbors. Okay, now I want to share with y'all to understand the audience. There's about 30 of y'all here. A very good number actually. A round of applause to each one of y'all. Kumar is coming to Penang very soon. The Singaporean comedian is all sold out, 30,000. Okay, but what we're trying to say is that the media has a lot of contrasting. Okay, comedy sells. Okay, interfaith dialogues apparently it takes a lot of more work lah. Okay, the Malaysian Press Index, the World Press Freedom Index. Okay, now one of the reasons why we are 113 is because who our owners are. Okay, in Malaysia, 90% of the owners are either political parties, business associations, or business corporate companies that have dealings with politicians. Okay. And so they have their interests to cultivate. Okay? Now we journalists, very poorly paid journalists like me, we are trying to get more community involvement in ownership of media outlets. So when we have more community involvement, interfaith dialogues can be a little more prevailing. We can spread it out more. Her achievement has been among the top students, can be highlighted. Your Catholic activities can be highlighted, UM's activities, student council activities can be highlighted, the Young Buddhist Association can be highlighted, and Arif's PYDC, Penang Youth Development Corporation can be highlighted. Do you know Harmonica at times have to lobby the media 5-6 times? Can you please get my press release out? They will have to send me a WhatsApp 5-6 times, even I think everybody here at the stage shares this. Okay, so see, one of the reasons why you're 113 is because of ownership. Okay, so this is where Malaysians generally can come together. Okay, in the US in 2008, when they suffered their so-called Great Recession again, okay, one of the things that emerged from that was a little more community-driven microeconomic enterprises. And one of it, of course, is online media, community-driven. Okay, just say you have garage sales, one neighborhood in Tanjung Tokong, one neighborhood wants to sell their books, wants to sell everything. So that media takes it up and spread it out. Okay, so this is something we are lacking. Okay, can I have the next one, please? Okay, this is by our very famous Selangor Menteri Besar. So basically he says plays an important role in national unity. But unfortunately, Selangor lost 2/3 majority in the State Assembly. Okay? So the message is not getting out to the masses. So this is where the righteous media, we have to play a bigger role in getting the message across. Okay, I've always advocated that in the media, we should report everything and let the audience decide, let the readers decide. We are not God, we are not Tuhan, we're not anything, we cannot determine things. The audience can. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so of course, we abide by the Rukun Negara. Today is Malaysia Day. The very principles of Rukun Negara should be our guiding light in the interfaith dialogues. Next one, please. This is recent. There is something wrong in that picture. This was done 15 hours earlier. Do you know what's wrong with the picture? Can you look at the picture, everyone? Yes, that's one. And the age, they are all 60 and above. No, 50 and above actually. Okay? Now, when you want to have interfaith dialogue, you also need to engage the young. Okay? So this is lacking in Malaysian interfaith dialogue. Okay? You can see everyone there is, I think, at least 50 and above. Okay? And the next thing they'll do is they will have lunch and dinner, interfaith dialogue. Okay? So this is where we need to have a little more meaning. The media has a bigger role to play and have more meaning in how we get across this. Okay? So now so I hope you guys understand why Malaysia is 113, but we are so much better than Thailand, a little better than Indonesia in ASEAN, a little better than Philippines. In Philippines, if I have this session, if I say something wrong, I might get kidnapped when I walk out the door. Okay, so Malaysia generally is still better in the ASEAN context, but there's a lot of room for improvement. Okay, so we in the media, we have a role to play. And YB Joshua, have you seen his social media? It's a very interesting one, Everyone should see how he has guts to go up and explain things from his standpoint. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ian. Big round of applause actually for this lovely slides over there and also his sharing. We can see Malaysia is actually on a very good track. We are still number one in ASEAN. Maybe not perfect, but we are still heading there. And although maybe some initiatives have some setbacks, by the end of the day, it's still a good step nevertheless, and we can still improve. We can still bring more communities, we can still bring more young people, like what Harmonico MPODC is doing, and we can also see more progress to come in the future, God willing, inshallah. So our next question is actually for Mr. Ryan himself. So Mr. Ryan, as influential as the media can be in promoting unity and religious harmony, there are also instances where the media can choose sensationalism and controversy to gain traction, which can be harmful to our country. Like clickbait, this do that. As the current Vice President of YBAM, what would be your advice to the public, especially our youth, when interacting with sensationalistic news? So, Mr. Ryan?
All right, thank you. The first thing first come to my mind is a clickbait. Nowadays a lot of news is actually wanted to engage with a lot of people. So you just look at the title, then click. Okay. So that's the true fact in the social media. Even though in the media, that's why the highlights is very important. No doubt, the media is actually can be a powerful tool for unity and create a harmonious country. But there are some things that is very crucial that we have to remain resilient when it comes to all these things. There are a couple of things that I would like to share, the advice that I have over here as a representative from YBEM. There one thing that for youth today, we have to actually remind them that one point number one is actually critical evaluation. Sometimes we actually have critical thinkings, but when it comes to news, we have to be very critical evaluation whether the news is okay to share, okay to absorb or not okay to absorb. That's the things that we have to be encourage the youth to cultivate these kind of mindsets. And then, sometimes the information presented in the social media, especially social media, is very controversial and it's very sensationalistic. So we have to be careful on that. And then there's one thing that I would like to share is Buddhism is a teaching. It's not like something that you have to just believe and then go to do all these things. But it's more about practices, more about realizations on what you learn and then you have practiced to your daily life. So Buddhist teaching is actually one of the keywords that I have heard today is wisdom. Also, that what I would like to present it here today is a wisdom that actually directly support us during our struggles. You know, when it come all these news, whether it's correct or not, you know, sometimes, I mean, it's not, I'm not talking politics. It's like, you know, sometimes to us temples, Buddhist temples, we also cannot wear shorts going to temples. But some people say, why? Are you from past or what? No. This is something that is actually a temple's rules. Even though we cannot wear shorts into mosque as well. But in Penang, we are more like very open. Like I said, very open. Some of the temples actually okay to accept. But if you go to North, South, East Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, they are very strict on that, especially to a Buddhist temple. It's not like they are like restricted you to entering into the hall. They actually reminded you if you want to pay your tributes to the Buddha, please make sure cover everything. Just the same as we go to, I think, Hindu temples, go to mosques as well. It's a respect to that religion. Sometimes it has been manipulated. So it has to be like very critical evaluations we have to have. The one thing that I always share with my counterparts in YBEM, there's one of the sutta, very, very easy to understand. It's called Kalama Sutta, whereby I think back in 2,600 years ago, whereby Buddha actually shared this story. It's actually a very interesting story that he shared with the people of Kalama when he passed by. The people in Kalama, the people of Kalama actually having this, you know, all these people say that, hey, doing this is wrong. No, doing this is right. So a lot of things that they have to make their own decision whether this is right or wrong. So they come to the position that, whether it's correct or not, whether to do or not. So when Buddha comes, they know that Buddha is someone that can give them wisdom. But Buddha is not going to tell you that whether this is correct or not. Buddha actually shared the fundamental things for you to guide you to a right path. So this is very interesting. That I think is very good to share with everyone. Is that in the Kalama Sutta, it's actually mentioned, do not believe anything because you have heard about it, similar to our daily life. Maybe you say that, oh yeah, your friend doesn't like you, or say bad about you. You don't just, because of one person, you heard about it, then just believe it. We have to have a critical evaluation, critical thinking to make sure that this is all right, not just one. We have to ask, make our own decision to evaluate whether this is correct or not. The second thing that Buddha has mentioned to the people of Kalama is do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down from many generations. My ama say, my grandma say, we cannot sweep the floor during first day of Chinese New Year. But none of us actually find out why. Who did that? It's a tradition. It's a custom. But we never do that lah. We never do that lah. We don't do that. It's ama, grandmother's story that actually passed down. But we have to follow. But make sure we follow your logic because in this world we have to make sure that things have to have something to support that as well. We don't just listen that this is tradition. Hey, you cannot drink this and drink that. No, but again, we have to find out why. We cannot depend on one. The third one is do not believe anything because it's spoken or rumors by many. You know, sometimes one person say A, B, C, we don't believe. 2 or 3 persons say the same thing. We start to, really? We cannot like that, we cannot like that. So we start to doubt ourselves, start to question ourselves. But again, we must have wisdom to do our own evaluation. The fourth point is do not believe in anything except merely on the authority of your teachers or elders. Even Buddha as well, he himself will not ask you to believe him. It's all about you to absorb. He's just a guidance. Just like, sometimes teachers say that what I say might not be correct as well. You have to do your own decision because you are an adult. You should be the one to do the analysis whether this is right or not. So it's all about observation and analysis. We have to observe whether this is true or not. Sometimes I just this morning I shared with them. All the while in my mindset, mosque is actually built by government. Then temple we have to use our money to build. But no, after that, I actually walked into that. I asked Muslim friends. They said, no, it's all from the dana, from our followers. They built, government just approved that land. than dana that we receive from them. And one of the great things that I learned from them is everyone contributed to build that. That's why they have a very nice mosque. I said, oh, now I know. If you don't tell me, if I don't step out, engage with you, ask you, I will not get an answer. So there's all about observation and analysis. When you find any things that agree with a reason and is conducive to the good benefits of one, then accept it and leave it up to it. And one of the things that when it comes to people ask me, you have talked about Buddha from the Buddhist perspective. You know, from Buddha, a lot of words that we might have, the keyword is mindfulness. People think about mindfulness related to Buddhism. Yes, this is a very common language that we use, and even though you are not a Buddhist, actually a lot of people in the Western country, they also talk about mindfulness. So when it comes to all these situations, we have to emphasize of the importance of mindfulness when consuming the media. Encourage youth to be aware of the emotional reactions and biases that may arise while reading or watching the sensational news. You know, sometimes we look at this, we'll start to have all these emotional reaction. So I will personally encourage people that we have to be very mindfulness, emphasize on importance of mindfulness when reading all these news. There's one, as a youth leader, there's one thing that I find very interesting. I'm from the 80s lah. I think I'm the oldest here, except here. Now we're seniors. This one oldest is not oldest. It's very senior. Senior is gold. Just like I said, I have a youth leader is NGOs. One of the greatest thing that I found, interesting thing I found is, as a youth leader, you have to engage in 90s millennium. Wow, that's just interesting that I found out. One day I asked them, why are you unfollowed my IG or Facebook? I said, no. I said, no, I didn't see you that actually in my list. You are no longer in my followers. You know what I found? It's called detox. They actually they want to shut down their social media, detox themselves away from all this negativity. That's interesting. So when it comes to all these sensationalistic news, let's go for media detox, digital detox. It really works. You see a lot of friends actually uninstall Facebook, uninstall Instagram. Why? They want to leave it to themselves. You don't want to see all this news, especially during election time. So there's the things that I would like to emphasize is encourage occasionally digital detox. Will actually help us to stop us from exposure to the harmful content. That's the things that really, really works. And last but not least, especially on this, we have to encourage more and more discussion and dialogue. Discussion and dialogue, and today I know about her. There's one thing that we would like to give credits to the Penang Harmonico. Yeah, doing a good job to do this. I hope that this is something that we have to encourage open discussion in between. I found that from this conversation that we have, it's not about religion. Actually, race is more than religion. In Malaysia itself, that just now I mentioned of Malaysian Chinese, I keep reminding, do not put the Chinese behind. I'm a Malaysian. We should celebrate the beauty of Malaysian, because when you walk out, people see you. When I go to international arena for some conferences, people say, you are Malay. And people say Malaysian, you are Malay. So no, I'm not Malay, but I'm Malaysian. That's the greatest thing that people have found out. Wow, you can speak a lot of languages, especially to Taiwan and Hong Kong. Wow. I say, yes, we are able to speak at least 3 to 4 languages. There's none of the people that are outside there, they would know. So that's the beauty of Malaysia that we have to embrace, and then we have to uphold, and then, again, always have a constant discussion, open dialogue, so that we can know each other better. So that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ryan. A very comprehensive answer indeed. He shared with us about Buddha's teachings to approach certain facts and also information. And we can also hear from him the mosque story. Yes, he did tell me backstage that previously he thought mosques, all of them were built by the government, which is half true, because a lot of the constructions at our mosques, they're actually based on funds. In the mosque, we have a tabung, we have the small little box, and we put money inside it. Mr. Ryan told me that he was shocked because the box was outside and people didn't steal it. Yeah. But yes, that's true. That's the beauty of getting to know each other, because when we get to know each other, getting outside of our comfort zone, we can finally get to understand the true stories and understand the beauty that we have within our diversity. So thank you, Mr. Ryan, again for your lovely answer. We can proceed with our next panelist, Mr. Douglas Warren. So Mr. Douglas, the youth can be full of energy, but may become emotional and easily influenced with sensationalist news. For example, oh, menteri ini cakap itu, and then the youth go, oh no, this is so bad. And we can see these sensational news in the internet, clickbait and so on. So as youths, we can influence our peers. So what would be a proactive measure the youth can take to preserve our interreligious harmony in the media, dealing with these clickbaits and so on? So, Mr. Douglas?
Okay, thank you, Arif. All right. When we look into these kind of issues, this kind of messages in social media that's going on right now. Okay, let's go back. I tried to split it towards one is the problem, one is the solutions. Okay, how does this kind of problem start itself? We start it from our education. Does our education system in Malaysia itself allows us to critical thinking itself? Does it? No, we are not allowed. Even in our class, okay, I've been working as a Guru Ganti previously. In our class itself, we are not allowed to talk anything about religions, not to touch anything about interfaith. You can't have a simple dialogue itself towards the students itself. Who are us to go, even if you are in a school, in a place where we are stuck there for educate, for learn something, getting some knowledge, but you are stopped at there. How do you expect the youth itself to not being easily influenced or becoming more sensational itself towards these kinds of messages? Secondly, we have PLKN previously. I'm in the last batch. Okay, but when I was joining in the PLKN for 3 months, I feel that I was in a vacation itself. Okay, because what did I learn there? Because the main motive of PLKN itself is to push towards perpaduan itself, unity. But it does not happen 1 cent itself at there. There's total breakdown of the races at there. Chinese in Chinese, Indian with Indians, Malay with Malay. That's it. Everything moves like that. Because the biasness itself starts from there itself. Because from you are from child until youth, and then when you join there, even the trainers itself at there are having the same biasness at there. Okay, Malays, you have these priorities. In Chinese, you have these priorities. Indians, you have these priorities. Why not? In this kind of PLKN, if give me the choices, right? If I was a trainer or I have the pengara, okay, let's say, what I will do is that usually we will have a class agama, maybe Wednesday, Indians will go to temples. Friday, Malay will go to the masjid. Why not you bring all the other races together? Let them have a more exposure towards this. Let them have an interfaith dialogue itself in there. And today, just now, I had Shamira and also Mr. Ryan talk about we have to conduct more dialogues. Even today, we have a dialogues. How many youth are here? This is a problem with the youth because it's very hard for you to engage themselves with this kind of interfaith dialogue. But I tell you, we have some solutions. That's true. We have Generosity Penang. Our YB Joshua is there from Generosity Penang also. Conduct more this kind of civic engagement. Let the youth stand inside, have a more conduct in activities. And then we also can have situations like, do you guys know the YouTuber about nowadays social media's Wapi Kong? We have Penang, One Better. When all these kind of YouTube's videos coming, they are actually promoting interfaith. They're promoting the religious harmony in Malaysia, but in a very unique way. Because Malaysia itself is a very unique country. We have a very special races, religions itself in Malaysia. Come out with a more special ways. We can do so. Even in Penang itself, we have Senan, we have the Thaipusam temple, we have Kek Loksi. All these are the specialties in Malaysia, in Penang itself. That's why Penang, maybe I have Penang pride, okay? But of course, Penangites, when we say Penangites, we are more working towards an inclusive and harmonious society. But when we look into the whole Malaysia, are all of us like that? Even I'm in a University Malaya student union. Even my student union can't reach a majority because of this race and religion issues split out. This is the main issues in Malaysia. Even it starts from the students itself. How are we going to settle it down? the dialogue itself is not enough because we can't engage fully the youth. But the problem is how you go towards, like we say, turun padang, to meet the youth, to make them critical thinking, let them understand, has a greater understanding, greater knowledge towards the interfaiths, to the religions in Malaysia, because we don't have the exposure itself. Even when we're in school, we are not allowed to talk anything, and when you go to university, nobody going to touch, and then suddenly the one of the batu api will come out. Say, no, the Malaysian is not for Malaysia. It's only for some races. This is the problem. When this kind of problems comes up, the only person who can help is that we have to start from the media itself. And right now I'm seeing that there's a good track, which is the social media is moving in a greater way, is giving a lot of opportunity, a lot of exposure itself towards the youth to understand more in a very fun way. But I guess that is giving the youth exposure. And they start to learn. They start to get the knowledge. When they start to get the knowledge, they start to do the background search, fact check. And they get more exposure and understanding. And maybe in 1 or 2 years more, they will start to join this kind of dialogues to get a more understanding. And this is one of the way I will say. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas Warren. Very semangat, yeah? Very spirited, very hot. And opposition leader, Ketua Bangkang ni. Thank you very much to Mr. Douglas for a very comprehensive answer. We can see about education. Yes, education does play a very important role to promote and to actually encourage the youth to be more thoughtful about interreligious harmony. We can also do more civic engagement. We have Generasi Penang, yes. I'm not sponsored, but I know Generasi Penang. They are very good people. And we also have the idea of being unique. We can approach our fellow Malaysians in very unique ways. We have social media influencers like Wabikong, Penang One Better, Penang Lang, whatever. And we can actually use these methods to approach our youth and also the community in general, promoting more interreligious harmony in the media and also our societies. So now we can proceed with our final round actually. So right beside me, I have 2 final questions. We can give these questions to all of our panelists to keep it short and simple. So for the first question, the second final question actually, what are some of the changes or efforts needed to, no, that's a different question. Sorry. Okay. What is one thing that you hope to see in the future of interreligious interaction in the media? We've heard stories of the past, we heard about the things in the present. So what about the future? What is your hope for the future? Maybe we can start with Mr. Douglas all the way to Mr. Ian. So Mr. Douglas, your hope for the future?
My hope for the future, I believe that Malaysia has a bright future always. I believe that Malaysia is always in a good track itself, although we are facing some kind of minor issues, especially regarding the interfaith religion issues here. But I believe that in the next another 10 or 20 years, with the outcomes of the youth right now, I believe that Malaysia will move to a brighter ways. In terms of Malaysians are going to have a more understanding towards all the religions itself. And also we have a more greater exposure and understanding towards each faith in Malaysia. And we have the abilities to uphold the principle of Malaysia is for Malaysians.
Malaysia for Malaysians. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. So, Mr. Aaron, your hope for the future?
Okay, just allow me to correct. I earlier made a wrong statement. It's not left wing, it's right wing. I'm from the progressive side, so I consider myself as a left wing. My apologies. I know YB Joshua raised his eyebrows just now. My apologies. Okay, the right wing. All right. So actually, in terms of coverage, if we don't need to look that far. This kind of news actually amazes people. Now we just need to look down south to Singapore. If you notice recently, Singapore, an ethnic Chinese majority nation, elected an ethnic Indian president, Mr. Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Yes. And Mr. Tharman himself comes from an interesting background. His wife actually comes from both mixed Japanese and Chinese roots. Now, if we take that into context, these are the kind of stories that people actually enjoy reading. If we want to promote interreligious dialogue, perhaps the media can look into feature stories, covers, more personalized touch. I think all of us are quite used to the mainstream kind of news. For example, okay, this person meets the other person, shakes hands and all that. And like what Mr. Ian has shared earlier, these kind of articles, I don't think it will appeal or it will amaze people nowadays. And more so for the younger generation. Feature news, let me talk about myself, where do I come from, what do I stand for, all these kind of things actually amazes people, not just from the younger generation, but all in general. Because when you get to know someone, you get a personal connection, that's where the interest will spark. So if we want to promote these efforts, probably feature news, a more personalized touch would help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. So, Ms. Shamira, your hope for the future?
Can you guys hear me? Okay. My hope for the future is when I think the day we all start thinking ourselves as Malaysians instead of Malay, Chinese, Indian, orang asli, and etc. The day we start thinking ourselves as Malaysian, the day we are not stereotyped as Cina this, Melayu Malas, or the day when people start stereotyping us India as gangsters, the day we stop that, and that's what I see in the future. And the day maybe you're wanting to rent a house or a property, and they don't ask you which race do you belong to or which race, it's not no more in the banner or India sahaja, China. That is my hope for the future. We stop doing that and think ourselves of Malaysia. Maybe probably I want to see Malaysians only. Probably better we need to decrease the foreign invasion in our nation really, because it is impacting our nation. That's a different whole topic. But what I see is that we, all of us, thinking ourselves as Malaysians by heart, and not only SEA Games Olympics not only that time not only when we go cheer for Harimau Malaya in the stadium, not only the day our Malaysian badminton players are making headlines, holiday, not only during holidays, it should be basic. It should be when also we start choosing leaders for individual and also for according to their track record, and not just for the sake of the party or for the sake of religion sentiment or for the sake of race sentiment. That's the day, and also that is the progress of Malaysia that I'm looking for someday. I hope I have started it, and I hope my fellow panelists have started it, and I hope everyone here also will start it, so that we could have a better Malaysia for our future generation coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shamira. Next, Mr. Ryan, your hope for the future?
Wow, my hope for the future. I mean, by listening to the feedbacks from the panelists that are younger than me, that I think the education system has to be reformed. I think the most basic things that, we learn about all these things is from education, from small. When say that all this stereotype is all from small, all these social medias that, all these influencers that actually picking up all these, like, nene will take you, nene, sorry, like all these is from the small that, my grandma, all this, you don't do bad, later nene will catch you, arrest you. All these things is actually from, from the tradition, from the generation that passed now. We should cut and stop it here. And then when it comes to, like you say, we talk about PLKM. Hey, PLKM, oh? Yeah, I didn't manage to join, but I was one of the speakers for our Buddhist group. But one of the great things that I found out is we should not restrict it to like Christian, you go to a Christian class. That, Sunday, everyone has this, out camp. Yeah, out camp. Christian, you go to church. Buddhist, and then non-Buddhist, Taoism, you go to Buddhist temple. Some people say, I am not Buddhist, I'm Taoist, I should not go to, I should want to go to Pekong Bio or want to go to all these Angkong King or what. But things that I value, that the inputs that he shared just now is, we should not just segregate like that. We should mix everyone. It actually reminds me one of the TikTok video that one of the police that did. I think most of you are not sure whether you see. That he actually said that, you China cannot sit one kelompok, and then India one kelompok, and then Chinese one. You have to mix together. That's the great things that the policemen, that actually the pegawai actually did in the school. These are the things that we need to see in the social media to promote
social harmony for Malaysia to grow. If we keep on like having this mindset that, China, you sit with China. That's why I say it's very important for the education reform that we hope that the policymaker, the lawmaker can really put efforts to build that, because after all, every one of us start from education. Because of education, we get wisdom. And then after that, this is who we are today. So again, education reform. YB? Education reform. So we need to reform massively for the education system and ensure that the next generation is able to make our dreams come true for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ryan. Now we can proceed with Mr. Ian. So, Mr. Ian, your hope for the future.
Yeah, thank you again. I think I share the same aspiration as all the panelists who have spoken ahead of me. And also, I think everyone down in the audience share the same aspiration. From the media perspective, our hope for the future is we're a little more strategic. We would like everyone to focus, if you want to talk about interfaith dialogue, national unity, we want you to focus on things that are sellable to Malaysians. Now, everybody here, how many here has had thosai this week? Who had thosai this week? Can you put up your hand? Okay. Who had Hokkien mee this week? Who had Hokkien mee this week? And of course, the most favorite, who had nasi kandar this week? Look at that. These are all Malaysian food. So if you want to promote unity, interfaith dialogues and things like that, you have to use things that identify with your fellow Malaysians. So this is something for you all also in the youth, if you want to reach out to fellow youth. Okay? Now another thing is, how many here knows a mud rimpit? Anyone here in the audience knows a mud rimpit? Okay. Is mud rimpit bad or good?
Depends.
Right? Now, actually, mud rimpit is basically a group of youngsters that want to vent out their frustration. They want to go out and race, right? There's just no platform for them except street racing. And mud rimpit is rampant in a lot of other countries, not just Malaysia. Okay? So, the understanding of it, the media needs to play a bigger role in getting people to understand it. Okay? Another thing I just pointed out earlier to y'all, there's about 30 of y'all in the audience now. I don't know live how many. I hope more, right? Kumar, because I know his manager, Kumar, the Singapore comedian, is coming to Penang. The show is sold out. Okay? There's 30 to 40,000 people from Penang are going to see Kumar. And Kumar is going to talk about national unity too. He's going to talk about the difference of Malay, Indian, Chinese, and and the others, right? So perhaps Hamiko, the corporation could work with comedians, work with artists, work with sportsmen. How many here know who is the Malaysian goalkeeper now for football? Who's the Malaysian goalkeeper for football now? Anybody knows here in the audience? Anybody knows who's Arumugam? Yeah, he was a famous goalkeeper for Malaysia, the late Arumugam, right? So these are things that the media wants to see, because we are not all alone. We are part of society. So if society changes and embraces interfaith dialogue, the media will likewise also adjust accordingly and also be part of that process. Okay, although we may have owners which has a different agenda, but hopefully we can work. So that's my hope for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ian. And with that, our forum has come to a very beautiful end. We already heard from our panelists, from the youth and also religious organizations, and of course our Otai journalists right here. We can see different perspectives on how the youth can play a role in promoting inter-religious harmony, and we can see how diversity can be accepted and celebrated to the fullest within our Malaysia context. And it is also hope that together we can build a Malaysia not just for Malays, not just for Chinese, not just for Indians, not just for Penangites, but for all Malaysians, a Malaysia for all Malaysians. So again, on behalf of the Organizing Secretariat, I would thank our panelists and of course to Harmonico and PODC for making this event a success. A special thanks to YB Joshua and his team for also coming, and a special thanks to everyone for making this event a very successful one. A very big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.